Hello and welcome to a brand new edition of the Tuesday Swoop here on the Solano College Sports Network in our TV studios. I'm your host, Cameron Harrison, alongside my analysts, Garrison Glenn, Blake Molina, and Zay Randle. And I'm excited for this episode as we're going to be talking about the 2023 World Baseball Classic. So for those of you who are new to the World Baseball Classic, it's basically the World Cup for baseball. And in 2017, the last time that they had this, Team USA won the gold medal, led by Marcus Stroman and Adam Jones on that team. And they beat Puerto Rico, who finished second, led by veteran players Yadier Molina, Carlos Beltran, along with some young superstar shortstops. You might know them, Javier Baez, Carlos Correa, and Francisco Lindor. That team was pretty good. So for this 2023 WBC, there are 20 total teams in the tournament, divided into 4 pools. Pool A consists of nations Chinese Taipei, also known as Taiwan, Cuba, the Kingdom of the Netherlands, Italy, and Panama. And in Pool B, it is Japan, Korea, Australia, China, and the Czech Republic. Pool C, Team USA, Mexico, Colombia, Canada, and Great Britain. And lastly, but probably considered the best pool, is Pool D, which has Puerto Rico, Venezuela, the Dominican Republic, Israel, and Nicaragua. So, the first round is a round-robin format, which means each team will play every team in their pool once, and the top 2 teams, based on their pool play record, will advance to the quarterfinals. The number 1 seed from Pool A will play the number 2 seed from Pool B, and the number 1 seed from Pool B will play the number 2 seed from Pool A. On the other side, it's the same format, with the number 1 seed from Pool C playing the number 2 seed from Pool D, and the number 1 seed from Pool D playing the number 2 seed from Pool C. The semifinals will be the winners from Game 1 playing the winners of Game 3 from the quarterfinals. You can see on the graphic. So the winners from Game 1 of quarterfinals 1 will play the winners of Game 3 in quarterfinals 2. And then Game 2 of quarterfinals 1 versus Game 4 of quarterfinals 2. It's pretty confusing, but it'll all make sense once we get to it. And then the championship game after the semifinals, obviously, that will be played on March 21st in Florida. And for any of you interested in watching these games, they're going to be on Fox Sports 1 and Fox Sports 2. Some of the games are at inconvenient times due to the fact that Pool A and B are playing on the other side of the world in Japan and Taiwan. You might have to get up a little early to watch those. And lastly, before I shut up and let my analysts speak, the rules are the same as last year's MLB rules, a universal DH. Pitchers have to face a 3-batter minimum unless they finish an inning. Runner starts at second base in extra innings and replay reviews. So no bigger bases, no pitch clock, no of the newer rules that we see this year. All right, let's start out with Pool A, gentlemen. Garrison, you want to start us off with your top 2 teams, your number 1 and number 2 seed coming out of Pool A?
All right, number 1 that I have coming out for Pool A is definitely going to be the Netherlands. Excuse me about that. They're 2-0 right now, and I think that they are the most the well-suited team. Mm-hmm. And then the second team I have coming out of there is Panama.
Yep, I like that.
Same thing with Garrison. I have the Netherlands coming out as the number 1. Xander Bogaerts a big part of that. Got that new hefty contract too, so he's going to be playing for a long time. He's one of the younger guys in the league, and he's just been probably one of the better shortstops in the league. And then my number 2, I did have Cuba, but they're starting off a little slow. But yeah. I have faith out of all those teams that start slow, they can pick it up because they've been known to be one of the better teams throughout the many years this tournament's going on. So I would say that's my 1-2 punch in Pool A.
Right. So I got the exact same 2 teams you guys. But like Blake just said, I had Cuba coming up, but they got off to a rough start. And I think Panama can finish number 1 actually over the Netherlands. So I got them as my number 1 and then Netherlands number 2.
I'm not mad at that.
I like that. And similar, we all have the same 2 teams. I did have Cuba coming out as the 2 seed. I have Netherlands at number 1 with Andrelton Simmons at 3rd, Jonathan Scope, Didi Gregorius. They have some pretty good MLB players on that team. And Cuba's been a little disappointing so far. 0-2, they lost to Italy early this morning, like 4 in the morning. And they lost to the Netherlands in the opening game of the tournament. That team has Luis Robert, Yohan Moncada, and Yoenis Cespedes, who's 38 years old, but still entertaining.
Oh, man.
So I agree. I think Panama and the Netherlands will come out with the Netherlands at 1 and Panama at 2. All right, and Pool B, which is Japan, Korea, Australia, China, and the Czech Republic. Garrison, who do you like from Pool B?
It's kind of hard for me to choose. I have two. The two teams I have here are Australia and Japan. It was hard for me to pick a one or two, but my gut feeling just choose. I feel like Japan's gonna pull it out, and then they'll be number one, and I think Australia will be number two. What about you?
My number one is the same as yours, Japan. Two names come to mind for me: Shohei Ohtani, the greatest baseball player in the world, and Yu Darvish, another San Diego Padre who also got paid. Doesn't look like that San Diego checkbook will be running out anytime soon. My number two, though, I'm gonna give my faith to the Czech Republic.
Ooh.
I just,
All right.
I mean, I know, Australia's kind of, has already played and they won, but I don't know. I just think in the long run, I think the Czech has a little bit more depth compared to Australia, and Australia isn't really known for baseball like that. So I think that kind of plays a factor, but I think hands down Japan comes out of that pool. I don't want to say easily, but definitely far ahead, as they are my overall favorite to win this whole thing.
Oh, wow.
Spoiler.
I actually
Yeah.
think Japan comes out this pretty easily. We all have them as number one. But for my number two, it's going to be different than both you guys. I got Korea coming out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
And that's mainly just because I like to watch Little League, and Korea always seems to do us pretty good. So
Yeah, both
I
those
just think
teams.
that one.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. I have Japan at number one. Like you said, the most exciting player in the world, Shohei, who early this morning he started on the mound and also hit third. He went 2 for 4 with 3 RBIs
Who
and
else is
pitched
doing
4 innings and gave up 1 hit. So he's obviously the best and really fun to watch. But another guy who's probably unknown to most American baseball fans is their third baseman, Munetaka Murakami, who just had the greatest offensive season in Japanese professional baseball history. He hit 57 home runs, had a .318 batting average, and drove in 134 runs, winning the Triple Crown, and was the first player in NPB, which is the Japanese Professional Baseball League history, or the first player to win unanimous MVP in 50 years.
Wow.
Oh my God.
So he's a stud, and they have a lot of studs on that team. And then for my number 2 seed, I agree, I have Korea, although they did just lose to Australia yesterday. That was a great game, and Australia, a huge upset. So that means basically Korea is going to have to beat Japan, or Australia is going to have to lose to either China or Czech Republic in order for Korea to move on. So that may be tough, but I'm still going to ride with Korea. The KBO, which is the Korean Baseball League over there, is probably the third best league outside of the MLB and the NPB. And a guy I like from that team is the 2022 KBO MVP, Jung-Hoo Lee, a center fielder who hit .349 last year, and in his 6-year career, he's hit .342. That's his career batting average, .342. He's also only 24 years old, and he's played 6 years and is averaging a .342 batting average in his career. He's going to be in the big leagues sooner rather than later.
Yeah, and he's going
Why
to get
is
a
he now?
fat contract.
So your question,
Remember that
we
name?
see a lot of
Yeah.
Japanese and Korean players come to the U.S. older, right? Like Shohei's almost 30 years old now, and he's only been in the league for 2 or 3 years.
Right.
Yeah, a lot of guys come in the league older.
The guy on the Red Sox, I can't think of his
Yeah,
name.
he's 29.
I was 28,
Yeah.
29.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
He's-
outfielder.
Right, he's on Team Japan,
Yeah.
and he's batting like 7th on that team, which is pretty crazy.
Wild.
So now Pool C, USA, Mexico, Colombia, Canada, and Great Britain. Garrison, who do you like from Pool C, other than the obvious?
The first two you said,
Yeah.
USA number 1, Mexico number 2. The USA team looks stacked, looks pretty good against this pool of teams. Also, I did want to choose Colombia for my second one, but then looking a little like further at the roster for Mexico, I think that Mexico has the better chance. It's gonna be interesting to see once they all play. But I have USA number 1 and Mexico number 2.
Yeah, USA number 1 for me. I mean, just a couple of names, and there's a lot more. Mookie Betts, Trey Turner, Mike
Come
Trout,
on.
Pete Alonso, Adam Wainwright, Merrill Kelly's there too. I mean, there's a lot more. Those are just the names I wanted to point out. My number 2, I was leaning towards Colombia, but then I was kind of like going back again to double check to make sure, and I do kind of like Mexico's roster. Rowdy Tellez in particular really kind of pushed the needle for me. I think he's just a good all-around player, and he's probably their best hitter on that team. So I'll put Mexico in there at number 2, but Colombia's right behind them for sure, and they can always sneak in. So.
Yeah.
But I'll leave it at that.
Definitely. But I think pretty sure we all got USA as number 1. So I just
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
my number 2. I actually went with Colombia.
Okay.
Yeah, they got a few studs going on over there. I think they can make some noise and go pretty deep.
Yeah, Colombia has a long history with baseball. They produce a lot of good baseball talent. But I have USA number 1 and Mexico number 2. Obviously, USA, the defending champions from 2017, looking to reclaim that gold medal and leading the troops, if you will. None other than MVP award winners Mike Trout, Mookie Betts, and Paul Goldschmidt. A team that consists of 18 All-Stars, 11 Silver Sluggers, and 6 World Series champions. My only worry for Team USA is the starting pitching. It's a little weak.
Yeah.
I mean, Adam Wainwright is the ace, and he's 42 years
40,
old.
yeah.
And then, like you said, Merrill Kelly, Lance Lynn,
yeah.
Kershaw dropped out, and Logan Webb dropped out. I was looking forward to those 2 guys.
Yeah.
But also my favorite team about this, or my favorite part about Team USA is their hitting coach, Ken Griffey Jr., the kid.
That's
Gotta love
awesome.
it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
The post I saw the other day with him
And Trout and
Boots,
Betts,
and
yeah.
Man, that's a great picture in general.
Some
it's
great
classic.
baseball players
That's
right
iconic.
there.
That
And-
is iconic.
So for the number 2 seed, I have Mexico. Sadly, the Blue Jays catcher Alejandro Kirk, who had a really good year last year, he hit like 300. He dropped out of the tournament. But I like Mexico. They have 20 MLB players, which is a lot. And their pitching staff with Julio Arias, Taijuan Walker, and reliever Giovanni Gallegos really good. And the outfield, Randy Arozarena and Alex Verdugo. Those are probably their 2 best hitters, in my opinion, going into the tournament. So, yeah, I have Mexico coming out with the U.S. from Pool C. So now for Pool D, the 3-headed monster of Puerto Rico, Venezuela, and Dominican Republic, along with, I feel bad for Israel and Nicaragua in that pool because, man, it's going to be hard to win a game unless unless you beat one or the other.
Yeah, when it comes to this last group, it was hard for me to choose 2 teams out of 3 that I thought were the best, but I chose the DR for number 1. I think that was pretty
Yeah.
easy to figure
Self-explanatory,
out.
yeah.
Self-explanatory. And then between Puerto Rico and Venezuela, I like Venezuela, so that's my second one.
Yeah, same thing, Dominican
Yeah.
Republic. I mean, just some of the names. Juan Soto, one of my personal favorite players. Machado, Rafael Devers, who now is kind of that leader of the Red Sox after everybody's kind of gone from Bogarts, Mookie Betts a few years ago.
Yeah.
Julio Rodriguez, who's becoming, I think, a fan favorite in all of baseball. He helped the Mariners break that streak, got a well-deserved contract for that. And they even got OG Robinson Cano.
Yep.
You know, he still has a little power for his old age, and he's played for that team a couple of times. So I have them as my number 1. And then my number 2, again, I think you can go either way, Puerto Rico or Venezuela. I'm going to just give it to Puerto Rico just because I feel like they just have a little bit extra star power with guys like Carlos Correa and amongst others. But I'll lock in Puerto Rico as my number 2. But I think Venezuela can get it too. I think they're pretty even.
Yeah, but I think those, besides Dominican Republic, out of Puerto Rico and Venezuela, you can't really go wrong. I actually ended up going with the same exact 2 as you, 1 and 2, Blake. So, yeah, I think that Puerto Rico can do some damage in this thing.
I think they can too.
Yeah, and Puerto Rico, who was just in the championship 6 years ago, similar team. Yeah, I mean, DR, I think they're the betting favorite to win it all this year.
Yeah.
They're loaded. They won in 2013, just about 10 years ago, really. And they have a powerhouse, like you said. There's no minor leaguers on this team. This Team USA and Team Dominican Republic are the only 2 teams with full MLB players.
Right. Wow.
No minor leaguers on that 30-man roster. I mean, yeah, Juan Soto, Julio Rodriguez, Manny Machado, Rafael Devers. And this is the first time that they really have an ace in the NL Cy Young winner, Sandy Alcantara. And also, their general manager is Nelson Cruz, who's also going to be their DH at times.
Wow.
So he's going to be a player and coach. And then, like you said, Robbie Cano he's a DR legend, so he's going to get some at-bats for sure. And, yeah, the toughest choice, I think, in this whole bracket is who's going to come out behind DR out of Pool D. And I have Puerto Rico just edging Venezuela, even though I think Venezuela, their top 3 players, Acuna, Altuve, and Cabrera, I mean, those are all 3 potential Hall of Famers.
Right.
But where I think Venezuela has the better outfield, I think Puerto Rico has the better pitching. The starting pitchers, Marcus Stroman, who pitched for Team USA in 2017 and was the best pitcher on that team, Jose Barrios, who's been really good. Edwin Diaz, Jorge Lopez. Those are really good bullpen arms to have. And obviously Puerto Rico, when you talk about Puerto Rico, you got to talk about the trio of shortstops, like I said earlier. Correa, Lindor, and Baez. It's a pretty good trio to have. All right, so that's everyone coming out of pool play. Now we got to make some tough decisions in these quarterfinals. So, again, Pool A, number 1 seed will play the Pool B, number 2 seed. So who do you guys have? First of all, just go over who you have on the left side of quarterfinals 1. Who are the teams in those games, and who do you have winning?
So for my Pool A winner, I had the Netherlands. And then for my Pool B runner-up, which would be their opponent, I had Australia. I'm sorry. Give me 1 second. Yeah, it was Australia. I think the Netherlands are going to beat them. I think that's pretty not easy, but I think the Netherlands are going to have the better advantage for that one. And then for Pool A, my runner-up for Game 2, I had Panama going up against the runner-up or the winner, for Pool B, which would be Japan. Japan just seems like it's also the better team, so I think those two games are going to be pretty easily decided.
Yeah, same for me. Pool A winner, I have the Netherlands. My runner-up was the Czech Republic. I think that would be a good game, but I do have the Netherlands taking that one. And then the second game, Pool A, the runner-up, Cuba. I know they're struggling a little bit. I actually think them against Japan will be a really close one. Like, it'll be like a one-run differential, but I'm still obviously giving it to Japan just because, I mean, Shohei Ohtani alone just does it for you, plus what else they have. You know, we talked about a little bit about them having Yu Darvish as well, but I mean, Shohei Ohtani gets you over the hump.
Yeah, have fun trying to stop him.
Exactly.
Right. See, the thing about this tournament, it goes so fast. After you get out of pool play, it's 1 game elimination. So the best team might not always win. It's like it's like football any given Sunday, right?
Or March Madness.
Exactly,
right? You got a whole new version of March Madness going right here. So,
very well said.
but with that being said, in the quarterfinals of Game 1, I got Korea and Panama, and I got Panama beating Korea coming out. And then in Game 2, I got the Netherlands versus Japan, and I got Japan coming out. I got them going pretty far.
I like that matchup, Japan versus the Netherlands.
Yeah, I think that could be a fun one.
That's
to
a good
watch.
matchup.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I have Pool A winner is Netherlands for me, and they will be playing Korea from Pool B. I have the Netherlands winning that. I think Korea is still yet to get over that hump. Netherlands look really good. They're already 2-0, and they have a lot of good players on that team. They were also in the semifinals 6 years ago. And on the other side, Japan versus Panama, I think this is going to be a shellacking. I think Japan moves on easily in my books.
Yeah.
So now for quarterfinals 2, I'll start it off.
Okay.
The Pool D winner, Dominican Republic, going up against Mexico for me. I have Dominican Republic winning this one. The only thing that may make a difference is if Julio Arias gets the ball for Mexico, they could have a good shot. That's about it, I think, in my opinion, because that DR lineup is really tough. Loaded with MVPs, All-Stars, Rookie of the Year, like just absolutely loaded. So I have DR moving on, and then USA versus Puerto Rico, which was the finals matchup. That one's going to be awesome if that happens. Either way, either USA or Puerto Rico or Venezuela should be great. And I have Team USA advancing in that one.
And then for me, my Game 3 is the same as your Game 3, and I have the same result. I think that the DR is going to edge out against Mexico, unfortunately. It just seems like the Dominican Republic is just the better team. And then for me, for Game 4, I have USA going up against Venezuela, and I think USA is too stacked for that. I mean, Venezuela has great players, but USA, I think, is just better overall. So I think the U.S. will end up winning that game.
I pretty much have the same exact results and teams as you, Cam. The only difference I'll make is I can see, and it's not something, I would hope not something crazy, but I can definitely see, that USA-Puerto Rico matchup going either way.
Yeah.
I could see Puerto Rico winning. I could see the USA winning because they're so stacked, but I'll change it up and I'll give Puerto Rico the win over the USA. But that probably is the closest game that will be played in this tournament for sure.
Mm.
I even can
like the
say extra
prediction.
inning.
Right,
extra
yeah.
innings.
Totally.
Nice. So with game 4, I got the exact same thing as you guys. I got Puerto Rico versus USA. And I think USA is going to come on top. You can go either way. But this other one in game 3, I got Colombia versus Dominican Republic.
Okay.
And my gut feeling was to go with Colombia. And then you guys kind of convinced me to go with the DR.
Hey, go with your gut feeling. You never
Yeah.
know. This is the type of tournament, like you said, one game,
Yeah.
single elimination.
That's
Anything
it.
can happen.
This was actually the game I was talking about when I asked you guys the question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
yeah. So are you going with the DR then?
Oh, yep, I'm coming out with the Dominican Republic. The champions of the tournament. Ooh, spoiler alert.
Uh-oh. Cat's out the bag. All right. Semifinals. So here's our semifinals for me. I have the Netherlands versus Dominican Republic. That should be obviously a great one. It's a semifinal matchup. I'm going to take the Dominican Republic. And Japan versus USA. I think this is
That's the one to see.
going to be, if Shohei Ohtani is available for that game,
Man.
on the mound, batting third against Mike Trout, that's what everyone's looking for. Everyone wants to see Mike Trout versus Shohei Ohtani.
Yes.
Right.
So that should be electric. I'm looking forward to that. I have Japan beating Team USA.
That's crazy. It's crazy because I also
That's
do as well.
Yeah.
I think Japan's going to beat
I-
USA. That game in itself will probably be one of the best games of this whole entire tournament.
For sure.
And then for the Netherlands going up against the DR, I think the DR is going to. I was going back and forth on it. I think DR is going to win slightly. It's going to be. I think it's going to be a close game.
Should be.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of have the same thing. Japan for the semifinal one for me. Oh, no, I'm so sorry. That's the second. I have Japan beating the USA. I know that kind of sounds tough to say, but
Wow, so none of us have. You have the U.S. going to the championship?
I do.
All right.
you do?
Okay.
Okay. I'm not. It's kind of tough, but
Yeah.
I just think Japan and I don't want to say nothing just yet because we're not there, but I like Japan a lot. I'll just leave
Okay.
it at that. The Netherlands matchup. Man, that's tough. I'll give it to them, but very slightly. It's not like
To the Netherlands?
Yeah, they don't like blow them out of the water, but yeah, I'm gonna give it to them.
All right.
I felt like they have a strong start. That's kind of why I'm kind of leaning more towards them because I mean they're the only team right now that's 2-0 in the whole tournament.
So you have the Netherlands against Japan in the championship.
Yep.
No. Take that back. Dominican. I'm so sorry. I got
DR?
I got my numbers mixed. I have Japan. I have Japan and DR in the championship. I'm sorry. I got my
You
stuff
have
mixed
DR beat
around.
Netherlands.
And you
Yes.
have for your championship the same thing.
I have the same thing as you
Yeah.
guys, yes.
And I do too.
Yeah, so we're still doing the semifinals, correct?
Yep.
Yes, we're still in
Yeah.
the semifinals, yes.
All right, so for the semifinals, one, I got my underdogs Panama playing against the DR. And
right.
I got DR coming out. Like I
That's-
said, I
that's-
think they're going to be
Okay.
a chance at the end of this
Yeah.
one. And then for the game to see, the Japan versus USA, I had to go with the home turf. Nobody else did.
Yeah, I was
had to go
surprised.
with
I thought I was
USA,
going to be a
man.
little different and take Japan, but yeah.
Yeah, it seems like I'm the indifferent one this
I
time.
made a last second decision.
There's going to be a lot
you
of
know.
star power in that game. And,
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
you know,
most
I just feel
definitely.
like USA is going to come out on top.
I like what Cam said. I think everybody's the Trout versus Ohtani matchup
Yeah,
would be
that's-
awesome.
that's the
I think
story.
that's like must see TV, and
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean I think that's kind of like the the narrative of the game. So that would be awesome. No matter who wins, that alone would just make it a good game for me.
Yep.
Definitely.
Yeah, and so the other thing too that I guess we didn't really talk about is that there is a pitch count rule. So in pool play, I didn't want to get into it because it's sort of a lot, but this really affects sort of the Shohei experience because if you pitch a certain amount of pitches in a game, you have to have a day or two of rest. So basically, you can't just go Shohei back to back to back or
No,
whatever
you
you
can't.
want, right? So you have to time it out well. So if Shohei pitches in the semifinals, he may not be available in the championship round. So that's going to be interesting to look out for. That's why the pitching depth is really tough. And again, also during spring training, it's difficult because a lot of these starters are just now ramping up.
Right.
All their teams in in the U.S., the MLB teams, they sort of want them to take a step back and not get injured
Yeah.
in
Oh,
this
of course.
exhibition tournament.
Do you
But-
know the exact number for the pitch count?
I do. So it's 65 pitches in pool play. That is the max. So what that means is you can finish an at-bat at 65 pitches and go and exceed that. So if you start an at-bat at 64 pitches, it ends up being you end up finishing at 70.
Right.
You're done. You're out of the game. You have to come out. And then I believe it's 85 for the quarterfinals and then 95 for semifinals and championship. Yeah. And it's interesting because there's also thresholds where if you pitch a certain number of pitches above the pitch count, then you have to take a certain amount of days off.
Yeah, that was really the number I was looking
Yeah.
for. Do you know what that number is?
I don't 100% know the specifics.
I'm sure it has to be around like 15.
I think
That's
for
about something
under
like that.
30 pitches, you can pitch back-to-back days. Over 30, you have to have 1 day of rest.
That's fair.
And
that makes sense.
in today's game, I think you're going to touch 30.
Yeah, and
Oh,
over
sure.
50 is 2 days rest.
Yeah.
I want to say
Yeah.
it. I'm not 1,000% sure, but I'm pretty
sense.
sure that's true. So it's going to be interesting. The pitchers that
That's definitely going to come in.
there's going to be some unsung heroes, maybe not the big names that we're expecting.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
So now our championship. So we all have DR in Japan. You have DR in USA.
I do.
So we all have the Dominican Republic in the championship. Who do you guys have winning it all?
Let's start with Zay. I want to hear you.
I do too.
I got DR going all the way. You guys heard it the
Ooh.
last 3 times.
All right.
No, I want to hear why. Like, this,
Oh,
You got him winning against USA for the whole
I mean,
thing.
these are kind of my guys, man. I've been rocking with DR. They got the old guy, Robbie Cano. That's been my favorite player since 07. So,
okay.
you know, I'm just got to, I feel like.
okay.
Yankee legend.
Yeah.
You know it.
Who you
And Panama, Mariano Rivera is from Panama.
Yeah.
Man, you put me on the spot. Oh man, DR in Japan. I want to say Japan, but it's DR. Their roster just makes up so much. Like, it's crazy. Not only is it crazy the players they have, but the depth at all the positions they have too with all those players is crazy. I mean, Japan has some good players. I mean, we already talked a lot about Otani, but you know, there's kind of I don't want to say a big fall off, but there are some players like we don't really know about and some virtual unknowns where DR we know, I would say at least half of the roster,
Right.
maybe even more.
Yeah.
So it just kind of depends on, you know, who shows up that day. But, you know, from a player roster wise, I mean, I would almost say you have to be crazy not to go against DR, but I mean, I don't think it's a blowout game where they're,
Yeah.
you know, like
Then,
Japan's
again,
going to be in
my
that
bad.
game.
Like Cam said earlier, they got pitching now. They got some real legit aces, and then we already know they got big bats.
Right.
That's one thing DR is good for. They're good for big
The,
bats.
yeah, the big bats is at the top. So, yeah, I'll give it DR at the end of the day.
I got the DR as well. It's too easy.
Yeah.
Kind of. I mean, yes, with Japan you have Shohei, and he is a tremendous player. You can't say enough about the guy.
Yeah.
But he's one guy.
right.
Exactly.
The DR, they're consistent. Their mold of who they are. It seems like their strength in numbers, kind of like Golden State. But I don't know. The DR just seems like it's the best team.
All right, so DR. I have Japan. I got Japan winning it all.
I'm mad at
Somebody
that.
had to do it.
I think,
Yeah, somebody had to
I'm
do it.
surprised
Yeah.
none of us had. We had USA in the finals. I had USA
yeah.
winning it all originally, but I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna be different. Like, but I wasn't. So I like Japan just because they have 2 aces in Shohei and Darvish, who, if the manager uses their pitch count well enough, they can kind of go back and forth, maybe bring in another guy. But the DR is loaded too because, in my opinion, the DR has a very similar lineup and position players to USA, but they also have the pitching where the USA might be lacking that. So I agree. I think the DR is the deepest and probably best team on paper. But I like Japan just because, one, they don't strike out. All their guys hit 300 plus in the Japanese professional baseball league. So I think the DR might have some problems with, one, a lot of egos, a lot of guys that are big name players, and
That's true. Yeah,
and
that's a good point.
Japan, you know, they're used to playing with each other year round, right? It's only Shohei and a couple other guys that are coming from the U.S. and even Shohei was in the Japanese professional baseball league for a long time. So a lot of these guys have played with each other for their whole career. So I think they have that kind of chemistry, and that's why I'm going with Japan winning it all.
All right.
I like
All right, so that's a wrap. That's our 2023 World Baseball Classic prediction show. We'll see how it all pans out here in the next week or so. I'm Cameron Anderson, here with Garrison Glenn, Blake Molina, and Zay Randle. We thank you all for watching here on the Solano College Sports Network for this edition of the Tuesday Swoop, and we will catch you next time.